Pioneering is our first phase. I think our second phase was, fortitude. We just stuck with it. We believed in our customers. We believed in what we're going to do, and we found our niche. And I think today we're moving into solutions provision, where it's really all about, because of our longstanding position, having an understanding to be able to deliver great solutions to customers and think in that way. Long term, we're the trusted name.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 376. What's the secret of longevity in the drone industry? For that question, we head to Saskatoon, Canada, and speak with Chell, CEO and president of Draganfly, a leader in the professional drone industry for more than 22 years. Draganfly is the creator of quality, cutting-edge drone solutions, software, and AI systems that revolutionize the way organizations can do business and service their stakeholders. Recognized as being at the forefront of technology for the past 2 decades, Draganfly serves the public safety, agriculture, industrial inspections, security, mapping, and surveying markets. The company is driven by passion, ingenuity, and the need to provide efficient solutions and first-class services to its customers around the world, with the goal of saving time, money, and lives. Cameron has been a technology entrepreneur for more than 30 years and has spent his career growing a diverse collection of high-potential ideas into revolutionary companies that have changed the way we experience the world. He takes a hand-on leadership role in projects, infusing innovation and adoption with the operational principles of clarity, alignment, and measurement into the culture of every team he works with. I had the pleasure of meeting Cameron at this year's Commercial UAV Expo, where the company unveiled 3 new cutting-edge North American-made technologies. In this episode of the Drone Radio Show, Cameron talks about Draganfly drones, the new addition to the Draganfly product line, the company's efforts to support Ukraine in its war effort, and he offers several perspectives on the current state and direction of the drone industry, and how Draganfly has remained a leader in the industry for so long. But before we hear from Cameron, I want to thank those of you who have been supporting my funding campaign by joining the community of Drone Radio Show advocates. For as little as $3 per month, you can help defray the cost of production and keep the podcast going and growing. You'll also be able to talk about current shows, bounce around ideas for future episodes, suggest questions of upcoming guests, and gain access to exclusive content. To become a Drone Radio Show advocate, go to patreon.com/Drone Radio Show. And by the way, if you have a great story on the use of drones that you'd like to share in a podcast, contact me at randy@droneradioshow.com. So let's learn how a long-standing company has continually innovated to serve the commercial drone industry with Chell of Draganfly. Let's pick up the interview where I asked Cameron to introduce himself.
Sure. My name is Chell. I'm the CEO of Draganfly Innovations.
Cameron, tell us about Draganfly. What does the company do?
Sure. So Draganfly is, at least by some accounts, the oldest commercial drone manufacturer in the commercial drone space. And we provide total turnkey solutions to our customers. So that's everything from the actual design, engineering, manufacturing, and implementation of the hardware, generally being the airframes, right through to different ground control systems, AI systems, software, analysis, services, training. What we're finding in the space is that customers are looking for an end-to-end solution at the moment anyway, and not necessarily for very specific type things or to a lesser degree.
When did the company get its start?
Yeah, so the company got started in 1998 by a gentleman by the name of Zen & Dragon out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, of all places. And the first application was public safety, doing search and rescue missions. And in fact, the first drone that was ever credited with saving a human life was a Draganfly drone. And today that drone sits on permanent display in the Smithsonian. But the applications grew from there to, mapping and survey type work. Again, somewhat bit more in public safety. So things like accident reconstruction, forensic investigations. And then, Saskatoon is an agricultural hub, a world-renowned agricultural hub with an incredible university there. So, a lot of agricultural applications grew out of that as well. I got involved with the company in about 2013, late 2013, and was working on another project and was utilizing their drones and was just so impressed with the team and the people. And I was fascinated by the industry. We put an investment group together and we bought the company, and we've been working in that capacity ever since.
In addition to the company's longevity, what distinguishes Draganfly from other companies in the space?
The longevity is unique, but the unique features that come out of that longevity are like a deep, deep understanding of one, the cycles that the industry is going through, and we're going through another one right now, and then how to interact with the customers, like what the customer is really looking for. So we tend to be less focused on, selling a Draganfly drone as opposed to, providing a solution that the customer really wants. And that's frankly been the key to our survival. So, 7 or 8 years ago when, the 3DRs and the Air Lilies and Airware and GoPro, and they were all out there, all of those companies tried to buy us at one time or another. And, kind of more by luck than anything, we didn't sell, because they're all out of business. But they all had a very specific product and idea of where the industry was going to go and how they wanted to fit into it and implement it. They had plenty of capital, lots of brain power, lots of hard work, good work ethic and everything else. But everything from, the offshore manufacturing to the regulatory environment to the acceptance of drones to, these are all these unknown factors that really played heavily in our market and continue to play heavily in our market that, it doesn't really matter how smart or how well capitalized you are. You don't really know what's going to unfold, like just the nature of that business right now. And it's going to continue to be that way for another, kind of 3 to 6 or 7 years, in my opinion. So our ability to stay very nimble and focus on the solution that the customer wants, it's in our ethos now. So we certainly have a mandate and an agenda around our own tech and around our own brand and those types of things, but never at the cost of the customer. And so we have no pride around, like, if somebody else's solution is a better solution, we'll implement that solution, right? Or we'll implement that piece of their technology into the solution that we're providing for the customer. And I think for the next number of years, and maybe forever, we're going to have to continue with that in order to be relevant and survive. The industry is still growing, and there's a lot of players out there chasing a growing but still limited customer base.
The ability to stay nimble, was that part of the company's culture before you joined? Did it evolve over time? Or was it something that you brought to the company?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's probably a combination of all of those things. There was definitely a customer focus previous. And then, probably if anything, it was really more just survival. Like, that's just what we had to do to survive. We look at the old XB4s or the original Draganfly drones. They were well priced, they were leading edge, they were all that kind of stuff. And they were in that commercial space. They weren't ever really consumer. But the capabilities that organizations like DJI brought to the table, they made commercial products consumer products. And they just drove that price down so quickly. And they're fantastic products. Like, let's be, the honest here. They're amazing, right? Now, notwithstanding, there are other competitive disadvantages, around security and a number of things like that. But, for a lot of customers, they were great. So, we ended up designing, solutions around those products sometimes. We ended up designing solutions that worked in conjunction with our products sometimes. It's the reason that we did survive and didn't go out of business, like quite literally every other drone company over the last 20 years.
How would you characterize Draganfly's product line?
I would say that we solve complex problems for customers that result in the creation of their most important asset, which is generally their data. The drone industry right now, there's a lot of areas, but it's either data or delivery. And even if you're in the defense market, it's one of those two things. Now, the packages you're delivering from a military aspect might be a little bit different than they are commercial aspect. But even if you're talking about resupply or, things like that, underlying all that is really what becomes the most important function. Did you get that package, whatever it is, to that customer on time and what data comes along with it. And, or if you're flying missions or providing solutions for customers, are they getting the data they need? So if we're providing a solution for a forestry company, it might be a LiDAR mission. And inevitably what happens is that forestry company, they'll see it could be the Army Corps of Engineers or forestry or an oil and gas company, whatever it is. As soon as you start providing them, terabytes of LiDAR data down to the accuracy that we can, the next thing they ask is, well, what about environmental monitoring, or what about corrosion control, or what about security, or what, all of which can be flown on those same platforms or similar platforms, within that same environment. So all of a sudden your ROI in terms of what you can deliver to the customer, goes up exponentially, and your costs maintain the same. But now you're delivering data to them that's the most important information that they have. It's their inventory of their forest. It's the disease management. It's the water tables. It's where the roads are cut in. It's like erosion control. It's everything that they make a decision by. And so we see our business pushing more and more to that data side, and our AWS type of infrastructure continues to grow. And, I think 5 years from now, Draganfly will be known as a drone company, but in reality, we're really going to be a data company. But in order to deliver the type of data or provide the type of data, we do believe that an end-to-end solution is most relevant. It can provide the best security. It can provide the most customization. And that customization is important because it can provide, different elements that a particular forestry company might be looking for that gives them a competitive advantage. So you become a trusted partner in working with them. So these are the types of things that we're moving toward and how we're seeing the industry evolve.
How would you describe the primary customer base?
Yeah, it would be enterprise customers and or agency type of business. Those are our two primary customers. So an agency to us would be a sheriff's department or Homeland Security or the U.S. Marshals or a paramedic unit or search and rescue, something like that, and or enterprise, which would also include universities and research centers and pipeline oil and gas companies and such.
We don't have time to talk about all of Draganfly's solutions, but I'd like to focus on a few of the new entries, one of which is a heavy lift drone. Can you tell us about it and why it was developed?
One of the things that we're fortunate is that we have a great long-standing customer base. Even though we're still a very small company, but we've just been around so long, we have a lot of customers that are really sophisticated in the space. And so we're able to get great feedback. And so, DJI has kind of exited the market with their heavier lift type drones. And so one, we saw that as a potential opportunity, but really looking at the customer feedback we were getting, they're at the spot now where they see the true potential of a heavier lift drone. And so they're now willing to go through the FAA waiver processes, those things that take long time in the sales cycle, they're getting very actively involved with because they see the immediate return. We're working with fire agencies, which is, not necessarily a massive market, but I think it's very important in many regards. We get a radio call and somebody needs gas or somebody needs chainsaws or somebody needs hose up the mountain. We can send 2 or 3 guys up there and they can take 4 hours to get up there. We can maybe send an ATV, maybe, if we're going to do a helicopter drop, that's thousands and thousands of dollars. And we got to combine it with a whole bunch of other things. But, now we can take this heavy lift drone and we'd be up there in 20 minutes, right? Boom. That's a game changing. And they see the immediate ROI on that. And that's an example, so whether it's in rail or whether it's in oil and gas, or whether it's in airfield operations or logistics or things like that, people are going, hey, wait a minute, this heavy lift capacity, getting equipment from one place to another quickly, it's a delivery drone. Now, it's not a delivery drone that's going to go from, here to San Francisco or anything like that. It's got a very specific market. But when we put these things out, we have a very specific market in mind because we've got customers that are designing us with it. Again, this isn't something that's going to be used to deliver the pizza box, right? And this isn't going to be something that's going to be competing against FedEx or UPS or, any number of those kind of like really well-known names and kind of headline grabbers. But those are not also the companies that are going to be competing in light ship to shore operations or, logistics operations on manufacturing facilities or, lifting for fire services. But we see those as being very relevant markets that need the equipment now and will probably take less time regulatory wise to get into market.
What factors do you consider when designing a heavy lift drone?
Yeah, there's 2 factors in general. There's the weight and time capacity, right? And then there's the actual payloads that you could hook up to it. So the weight and time capacity, there's a constraint on an engineering constraint on that look, this is a 40 to 50 minute flying drone at, 70 pounds. And, if you go less, you can go further. If you like that type of, those are well within the safety regulations. So if you have something that's outside of that operational parameter, you need a different drone. That said, our payload systems are integrated and multifaceted, interchangeable between our drones. So we also have a 3XL drone, which has about 26-pound capacity, which keeps it under that 55-pound weight. That's incredible thrust ratio, so it can lift a lot. So it can take a chainsaw up a mountain. I mean, it couldn't be a half-hour flight, but it could be a 15-minute flight up there. And that same switch out can go to the heavy lift. But whether it's our LiDAR system or multi-camera different systems that we use or anything, they're all interchangeable between those different drones. So you can certainly oversize your drone for the mission parameter. You can put a lighter load with the same payload hookup on the heavier drone and use it. So there's great versatility in it.
You mentioned the 3XL drone, which is also known as the Commander XL drone. Can you tell us about it?
So we're on our third version of the Commander. There's the original Commander, which served the company great and, of a little bit of a legend in the industry. And then there's the 2, which we came out with about a year and a half ago, which was really just like an interim step to get us through to the 3. And the 3 is, we kind of like to refer it to as a Swiss Army knife. This thing is 100% utility. It is not meant to be pretty. It's meant to have great thrust, great power ratio, great battery innovation in it, super, really, really innovative type legs that are incredibly strong but light and have a huge flexibility in them. Yeah, and it's, this thing can go in a backpack, it can go in a case, it can carry our LiDAR system, still has all the functionality and the agility of when it was a little bit smaller, and could do all those missions as well. So it's still a great public service drone, great search and rescue drone, as well as it's got some lift capacity.
As we know, LiDAR has become a popular payload in many UAV configurations, and Draganfly has a long-range LiDAR system. How is it different from other LiDARs?
So this is a LiDAR that easily fits on and integrates into a helicopter, into an airplane, because it does have such long range. You can stick it in your backpack, or you can fly it on either our XL or our heavy lift drone. So it's got a lot of versatility. It's also an integrated system. It's a little easier when you're working with point clouds to have one system instead of trying to integrate 2 or 3 different things that might be flying on 2 or 3 different platforms. So that was one of the requests that we had. The other consideration here is that we're tending to see that LiDAR is getting put into the same category as the airframes in terms of security. So there's concern amongst customers that the LiDARs that they're flying, the reasonably priced ones are offshore LiDARs. And the North American priced ones, which are incredible quality and great product, have a price point that's considerably higher. So we brought this in kind of right in the middle, trying to push the price down as much as we can, but focused on 2 things. 1, it is a longer range, right? And 2, it's North American built, it has North American security standards. So in that price range, we're trying to fit, kind of in that lower middle price range market, still having a high end and a highly secure product. Certainly the inbound inquiries and the customers that we're pushing it with right now that's exactly what they want. So at the end of the day, an airframe's an airframe's an airframe kind of thing. It's really, it's the sensor and the data and the rest of the services, it's the end product that the customer really cares about. And so if your drone, tends to go 500 feet higher or 5 minutes longer, it's nice. It's important, but it's not the decision point. So, you need to be able to perform at a very high level on your airframe, but really it's all about your sensor. So more and more, we're going to be working either proprietary or with our solutions partners to provide integrated solutions. Because again, that's our customers just want easy use.
What does it mean when we say long-range LiDAR?
It can maintain its resolution from further away. So a number of the competitors, not all the competitors, but a number of the competitors that we're up against, or the competitive products, that we're up against, they're great on a drone or they're great on a car because they're shooting something 30 feet away or 50 feet away. Or if they're on a drone, they might be shooting something, a couple hundred yards away. But when you start putting it on a plane, right, and you're, 3,000-4,000 feet up, it's a different radar system. So we're not putting these on planes that are 5,000 feet up, but 3,000 feet we're super comfortable with. You can put that in a helicopter, no problem. And so that's kind of our differentiator in terms of the product spec.
I read where Draganfly is supporting Ukraine in its war effort. Can you tell us how?
Down in Texas, we're working with one of our channel partners down there, Cold Chain Delivery Services, which is standing up an emergency response system with a number of different EMS districts in Texas to do both BFR, drone as a first responder, but also medical response. So being able to deliver AEDs, EpiPens, pharmaceuticals, water, blood, disaster relief, those types of things. So those are the 2 main use cases. And so you have to do that in a temperature managed box, especially if you're delivering a number of pharmaceuticals or vaccines or such. And so they got a little bit of press around it. And so an organization called Revive Soldiers Ukraine got in touch with them and said, hey, we just bought 11 ambulances. We can't get them through lines. They either get shot at, stolen, confiscated, whatever you want to call it, or they just can't get through. And, big costs and so on and so forth. And in some of these areas, we think that drones could be effective. They were delivering three things primarily: insulin, pharmaceuticals, and rape kits. So a couple of those require temperature sensitive environments. So they said, would you be interested in providing these? So we donated 3 right away because it was what an incredible opportunity, one, to contribute, and 2, to learn, how your equipment works with a really crazy experienced, not crazy, but incredibly experienced pilots, in just amazing situations. And so we donated 3 right away. They then put an order in for an immediate 10 or 11, I think. And so I think there's been about 15 or 18 in that range that have been delivered so far. And there's just kind of like ongoing now. And each iteration that we've sent over there, we kind of ended up sending over there in kind of like 3s and 5s. That there's new upgrades, different types of communications, longer range communications, different type of encryption, different types of ways for either top loading the equipment, the payload, or bottom loading it, depending on the situation. Like, we've just learned a ton. And RSU is just an incredible partner and so committed to their cause over there, their humanitarian cause. So we're going to continue to provide those, and it's giving us incredible data for the work that we're going to continue to do with first responders here in North America. Another organization called DEFC, and several others as well, have got in touch with us looking for technology that could help identify mines. And so we've been over there doing some testing work with a number of different sensors, including LiDARs and multispectrals and ground penetrating radar, et cetera, and combining all of that mapping into one system to be able to provide a map back to the demining crews. It's going to take 20 years or more, depending on which report you read, to demine Ukraine. And for every day of war, there's 30 days of demining that has to work. And it's an intense problem, not just the catastrophic human cost, but also the economic cost in terms of the agriculture and a number of things. So I'm back over there again at the end of this month, and we've got crews that are working over there to get this product really dialed in and get it into service. And so we've got huge demand for it globally now too as well.
In regard to the delivery service, what are some of the lessons that are coming out of the experience to date?
Coordination. So, you put a drone up in the air in the Ukraine. Nobody knows whose it is, what it's doing, what it's there for, So, unless your pilot crews are really dialed in with the territorial defense, the DoD, and you're trusted, they're trusted, they're not going to get used because they'll get taken out of the air one way or the other. And so that's been a great lesson, is to work in the area. It's still really all about relationships, and you really have to be a trusted partner. And so we're going to, just like customer service anywhere else, it's really but on steroids, quite frankly. So that's one. Communications, unbelievably important. So, there's lots of jamming technology going over there, and lots of times technology can't solve that. You put jammers on there, or put different type of communication. Like, everybody's one-upping each other very, very quickly. And so a lot of it has been come down to pilot skill. And even if you could put autonomous systems in place, autonomous systems are, at this point anyways, aren't going to be able to counteract, that escalating technology battle. And so you've got pilots that have learned how to evade communication jamming and where to fly. And then, if it's flying a certain way, that means certain things to people on the ground. They know it's a certain type of drone. Like, it's all those intuitive things that you never know unless they were developed, that are actually theater operations. So those have been the most fascinating things to us to learn, and things that you would just never do. But, same thing, like our medical response drone was top loaded, meaning that when it comes in North America, it comes into a zone, the first responder goes up and just picks the thing up off the top, stays out of the way of the blades, and the thing can leave quite quickly. Well, nobody in Ukraine is going to walk up to a drone that's sitting on the ground. It ain't going to happen. Of course, you don't think of those. In hindsight, it's like, of course they're not, right? But so now there's a quick release. This thing comes in, it hovers literally for about a second and a half, maybe up to 3 seconds, at a height where it could drop and nothing can get damaged, and then it just books off, right? And it books off in a way that people know that it's a medical response drone. It's not an attack drone. It's not, or an observation drone or whatever it is. So those types of things, learning how to put those things in place, have been, like I say, fascinating, and things we wouldn't learn unless that incredible nation wasn't fighting for our freedom the way they are.
When you look back at the company's history, how would you characterize Draganfly's role in the drone industry?
I think that in the past, it's been a pioneer. At its roots, it's an engineering shop. It's deeply rooted in technology and engineering. It's also deeply rooted in customer focus. And it's I would say by choice, but really there was not much choice. We really focused on the customer. So I think we were pioneered, we're proven. Now we got out-teched. We got out-teched by the offshore folks a long time ago. They just completely just ran us over. They're so good at what they do. EGI's got 10,000 engineers or whatever the crazy number is. Like you can't compete with that. But we didn't get out-serviced, right? And we didn't get outlasted. And so, so I think pioneering is our first phase. I think our second phase was, fortitude. We just stuck with it. We believed in our customers. We believed in what we're going to do. And we found our niche. And I think today, we're moving into solutions provision where it's really all about, because of our longstanding position, having an understanding to be able to deliver great solutions to customers and think in that way. Long term, I hope, we're the trusted name. I think there will be others as well, but, hopefully nobody ever gets fired for hiring Draganfly because they know the commitment that we have, to the customer proposition. So that's my hope. There's a ton of other great companies and there's lots of room in this industry. I sat on a innovation visionary board at CUAV, which was a great show, and kudos to everybody that put that on. There was Drone Deploy, there was Ag Eagle, and there was Draganfly. All, listen, this is still a very small industry, but all fairly well-known names in the drone industry. Ag Eagle, they sell their MicaSense cameras. Well, Draganfly, not quite so humbly say, those are in large part developed in Draganfly's shop back when the original founder left AeroVironment. So we know that product well. And we buy that product from, we wish they'd sell us more because we got lots of demand for it. And Drone Deploy, we got lots of customers that use Drone Deploy. But none of us as CEOs or leaders in those organizations had ever even met each other, right? None of us have run into competitive situations in the industry. So, interesting, that there's just that much room in the industry, for collaboration and that much room where we're not even touching each other's customers. I haven't seen another drone company in terms of a competitive situation with any customers we're dealing with for years.
Speaking of the UAV Expo Visionary Panel, what was your message to the audience?
I found that the attendees there were generally other drone companies that were, maybe looking for insights and some things like that. And so our message was just grind it out, focus on the customer and find your spot. It's very tough in this industry, to be the next DJI. Like Skydio is going after it, unbelievably well backed, unbelievably smart management team. Like they got all the things going for them. But so did Airware, and so did and so did 3DR. So we'll see where they end up. I think the industry's in a different spot, so I think they're going to end up doing very, very well. But you don't have to be that. There's a lot of room in this industry for innovation, and so I think just really focus on the customer and put yourself in a position where you can play for the long game. That was certainly the message that I garnered, or not by design, but just by the questions that were being asked tend to convey.
I'm curious, going back 13 years, what was it about Draganfly that made you want to become part of the company?
So I'm a bit of a product geek, or wannabe, is probably a better way to put it. And they just really knew the product. They really knew the engineering. They knew the air, right? They could really push the limits of what could be done. And that's what got me interested. The founder's now retired. But other than that, there's only 2 people that have ever left the company, which is just absolutely amazing. Not that we don't have our challenges and problems and conflicts and everything else like every other company, but it's really quite amazing. It's just a group of people that are completely committed, to the real ethos of the company. And that's the kind of company that I thought I could really wanted to be a part of and could get behind. Like I have no problem with my whole heart being in it. And as evidenced by the type of work that they were doing. Search and rescue and the first life saved. And there was zero hesitation going into Ukraine in our company, zero, because it was humanitarian. Now, we've been asked lots of times to do ordnance and blow things up and stuff, and we've pulled back from that. Not that might not be an inevitability in the drone world, but the reality is, when it comes to a group of people that just want to do the right thing, they were it. And so I'm a lucky, and so is the rest of the executive, very lucky to be a part of it.
What have you enjoyed most as CEO of Draganfly?
Customer successes and employee successes. Those are the 2 things that I've enjoyed the most. To see a customer who's really winning, like the internal champion at that oil and gas company or that, whatever company it is, that internal champion getting a real win. The management going, oh my gosh, we get it. The executive getting it and going like, wow, this data is incredible. And, we need to expand our drone program. And we see this is our biggest strategic advantage. Like from a product side, that's like super, super exhilarating, but it's so fulfilling when you see your customer, who's generally that mid to upper mid management, engineer, IT, field, that type, they're winning in there. We all get really jacked up about that. So, and then seeing our employee base and our employees grow, like the careers that they've had and the careers that they're growing is really, really fulfilling.
What advice would you give to other entrepreneurs?
Listen to your customer and set out your value proposition, right? Pick your niche, and try to keep it as narrow as possible. Now, I say that with, Draganfly is anything but narrow. We're doing a lot of different things. The common denominator in Draganfly is our narrow focus is 100% on what that customer wants, right? And so we're in a spot where we can play for that long game. If you're new in the space or in the industry, I would say, pick your niche, right? And try to be super narrow in it, but do not be afraid to pivot, right? Like according to your customer. Pivot according to your customer, and then just try to stay narrow as possible. Like, I have a lot of respect for companies like Drone Deploy or whatever, they picked where it was at. And I mean, I just feel like, oh man, they got such an easy job for what they've done and where they're at. And that's not true. Absolutely. Or I see a drone company that's just doing corrosion control, or it's risky because if you're wrong, you're done. Right. So you need to be super nimble and don't let your ego get in the way. Don't be right. You're better to be happy than right. And happy means you're listening to your customer and pivoting accordingly. Your customer is way smarter than you, for sure. Like, that doesn't matter if they're smarter than you. They know what they want. And if you don't have what they want, it doesn't matter.
What's next for Draganfly?
So we're going to innovate in a big way. We've got some incredible innovations coming, but they're all customer driven. So we're not doing any R&D. All of our innovation, everything new that we're coming out with, fits into a solution package for a customer. We're going to continue to be pragmatic. I probably, as much or more than anybody, would love to get, those 2 or 3 or 5 signature customers with those $30-40 million accounts, right? To really go, okay, boom, we're here. It changes the game and everything else. But we've been very pragmatic over the years in order to survive. And just because the drone industry is getting, attention again, and it looks like regulation is really lending to opening up the skies and stuff, we're going to continue to focus on the customer and stay pragmatic. There's going to be lots of decimation in the industry. I think 3 years from now, half those companies that were at the CUAV won't be there, not because they're not amazing companies or they're not amazing management teams. It's just the nature of new industries, and we've seen it so many times. So, we're just going to continue to try to take right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, pick our spots. And when we got the opportunity to hit a big innovation, we'll hit a big innovation, but it'll be customer focused.
Where do you see the industry headed?
Right now, there's also a bit of a public, obviously, perception challenge that we have with, the Terminator 3 movies or the noise of drones or the busyness of them or the what the hell they need that for kind of attitude. Well, 5 years from now, those 15-year-olds that have no fear of drones, right, are going to be starting to step into decision-making positions. So in 8 years from now, they'll be in regulatory positions. And it's only 10 years from now where there is no perceivable perception issue with drones. They will be considered and determined to be an essential service. Just like the internet. It's like nobody would think today that that's not an essential service. That's where drones will end up going. It'll permeate every piece of our life.
Is there anything that we missed that we should talk about?
We're a public company, DPRO. We're always looking for shareholders. We're always looking for support. We're always looking to partner. We love customers. And we love great people. So if somebody thinks that, maybe what you and I have talked about here today resonates with them, we're always looking for great people to help drive customer successes. So, come see if you want to join our team.
And for my final question, Cameron, what message would you like to leave regarding the future of the drone industry?
Yeah, don't be afraid from 2 aspects. I'm old enough to have been an internet, kind of pioneer in that era. And I think the biggest thing around the internet and the .com blow up and all the rest of it, which we've seen 2 or 3 times in the drone industry now, is that it took twice as long or 20 times as long. But it's 2,000 times, 20,000 times bigger than we ever thought. Like, if we think about what the internet was going to be when we were talking back in 1998 and 2000, and oh my gosh, you're going to be able to buy clothes online. Like, that's, blah, blah. And then you think about what the internet is today. The internet isn't the thing. It is. It's everything, right? And there's nothing that happens without it. And the drone industry will have the same effect. We'll laugh that we think package delivery was the big deal back then. Like, that'll just be like what e-commerce is now. So I would say, just play for the long game and just absolutely trust that it will take a lot longer, but it will be exponentially bigger than what we think.
That's it for episode 376 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Cameron Chell of Draganfly. I want to thank Cameron for taking the time to speak with me. If you want to learn more about Draganfly or want to connect with Cam, check out the webpage at draganfly.com. And Dragon is spelled D-R-A-G-A-N. If you like the Drone Radio Show, please consider supporting the podcast with a small donation. The content is always free, but for as little as $3 per month, you can help defray the cost of production. To donate, go to patreon.com/Drone Radio Show. And thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Goers.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.